This is my life, call it chronicles, but you only see half. Monocle, might have to take a little break if the chronic calls, and I'm the best of both worlds, Sonic and Knuckles.
What's up, Wizards? It's Dev from the MTG, that channel down there. And what if I told you that right now, in Standard, you could have infinite mana, infinite creatures, and infinite damage? Well, you can, and we're going to talk about that today in a deck tech. We've been working on this for just a second here. It's sort of an iteration of red-white tokens meets crazy, stupid, casual combo for your F&M. And before we go into the actual makeup of the deck, let's just go over the combo real quick. So basically, the combo goes as follows. You get 8 guys to attack somehow. That's kind of the problem that's the issue with the thing. You get 8 guys to attack somehow. You cast Dragon's Rage, get 8 mana, use Soulfire Grand Master's ability to pop the Dragon Rage back to your hand and just play it over and over and over for 1 net mana each time, getting infinite mana in the process. There's a couple of awesome things you can do with this, but the most stylish way to finish off the opponent is made available by some cool Dragons of Tarkir cards. So, let's take a look at that. Well, with Secure the Wastes, you can make infinite dudes if you just have 1 white mana untapped while you're doing this crazy infinite mana thing. And then with Impact Tremors, each of those tokens that comes into play, infinite times, gets you 1 damage infinite times. So, there are other ways to pull this off. Before somebody says it in the comments, of course, you can just wild slash them over and over and over infinite times for the kill too. But, you know, who wants to do that when you can make infinite dudes with Secure the Waste and kill them with infinite this? You know, it's just so much more fun to do that way and more stylish. And you get to play Secure the Waste and Impact Tremors, which are both very good in this little deck that I'm going to tell you about now. So the deck that we built around this thing plays 11 creatures. Sounds kind of low, but most of your spells make creatures, so don't worry about that. Of course, we're playing a red-white tokens thing, and we're going to start with 4 Monastery Swiftspear. The only 1-drop in the entire deck, but it's important that we have a 1-drop so that we hit that 8 mark very quickly, and Monastery Swiftspear is pretty obviously the best thing for this while you're playing a bunch of Raise the Alarms and things like that, Dragon Fodder, that are spells but get you guys as well, and make Monastery Swiftspear bigger for a turn. So, pretty decent card here in the 1 slot, and you need a 1-drop. The 2 slot for creatures, we're going to play, obviously, 4 copies of Soulfire Grand Master. I don't really have to go into why we're playing this. This helps in a lot of ways. A whole darn lot of ways. Because, you know, later on in the game, even if you don't pull off a combo, you can just, you know, return your token generating things back to your hand. And, yeah, fantastic card for what the deck wants to do to pull off the combo and just to be a good card that does cool-ish for you. The deck really doesn't want to rely on the combo to win, but obviously SGM is in there because she's good one way or the other. She's pretty awesome, but you have to have her for the combo. The other 3 creatures we're playing are 3 Monastery Mentor. Well, Monastery Mentor, another sort of no-brainer in this situation. We want to make a lot of tokens, and that's what Monastery Mentor does, and it's still a solid dude regardless of if we're pulling off retarded combos. He's still just awesome with what we're trying to do. He makes an extra guy whenever we cast a Dragon's Fodder or a Hordling Outburst or whatever, and that's just darn good. And the guys you make have prowess for when you cast other things, and yeah, just Monastery Mentor if you want to play that guy. On to the spells. The deck, that's the meat of the deck. It plays 26 spells, and yeah, they're all pretty much what you think. In the token generating slot, we've obviously got 4 Raise the Alarm, 4 Dragon Fodder, and 4 Hordling Outbursts. We need all of those to make as many guys as possible in as little time as possible. And so you just kind of have to play all of those dudes. We're going to play 3 copies of Dragon Rage because we don't necessarily absolutely have to get the combo off to win, but it's pretty darn sweet when we do. So yeah, I want to play at least 3 copies. I'm thinking about moving it down to 2, but I want to play the 3 because I just want to see the combo whenever possible, but we can still win without the combo. It's not all about that. We play 4 copies of Secure the Waste for multiple reasons. It can be a removal spell if you need it to be. In some ways you can block like that. It can help you facilitate getting the combo later on. Just give you 4 or 5 dudes, you know, super fast. And that, if you have an Impact Tremors out right there, is 4 or 5 damage. Not to mention that helps you attack with those 8 dudes that you need to attack with. And you can just combo off with it too. So it serves multiple purposes in the deck and is just a solid card one way or another. I really like Secure the Waste. I want to play with it in like everything I make. I just love this card, and it is super suited for what we're trying to do here. So, 4 copies. Totes. We're playing 4 Impact Tremors because it is actually super good in multiples. You play 2 of these and then play Hordling Outburst, you're doing 6 to the dome. And if you play just a Raise the Alarm, you know, you're doing 4 right there. So these become super duper good in multiples, and in these long drawn out games, especially with other aggro format or other aggro decks, you just stalemate and the board becomes this clogged up mess. Impact Tremors can really help close those games out just on its own, you know. A couple of Raise the Alarms and you have 2 Impact Tremors out, you've just done 8. So this is a fine card. It's not the best card ever, obviously, but it facilitates the combo and does other stuff for us. And so Impact Tremors, more than fine so far in testing at least. Just one of these out on the board can deal a total of 6-8 damage over the course of the game. And that's like super relevant, honestly, just for a 2-slot, 2-drop. So, yeah, I kind of like Impact Tremors the more I play with it. And to close out the spells, we've got 3 copies of Wild Slash, obviously, because, again, if you have infinite mana, you can just cast infinite of these over and over with SGM, and infinite life, and infinite damage, and yeah, it's super fun. And you don't have to go through the trouble of having, you know, Impact Tremors and, you know, Secure the Waste or anything. But it's not as flashy, but works just as well, right? You can just kill them. Or early game, this is like another 1-drop. You can deal with other aggro decks 1-drops. We're playing 23 lands in this deck, and it's pretty straightforward. 4 Battlefield Forge, 4 Mana Confluence, 2 Temple of Triumph, and the rest are mountains and plains. 7 mountains, 6 plains. We're going to need a few more mountains for what we're trying to do here. And all of our 1-drops are red. So we want to make sure we get our mountains, absolutely. We have to play Impact Tremors, we have to play Dragon Rage, and we have to, you know, activate Soulfire Grand Master. We need our red mana. You don't necessarily absolutely have to have the Monastery Mentors, but they do help you hit that 8 creature mark very fast, and they just flood out other decks super well. So I, you know, take those out. They're like $18 right now. It's ridiculous. And the lands you could twiddle with, and just, you know, the deck would probably run fine with just mountains and plains, honestly. So you could probably build a fairly decent version of this for, you know, $80, $100, something like that. You know, taking out the monastery, the monastery mentors and the lands is a huge difference. So I think with about $100, you can make this ridiculously fun thing for FNM. Let's go over the sideboard very quickly here for you. The sideboard, like I said, is kind of curveball-y, but it just becomes red-white aggro. And there's a couple of the MAC, mid-range aggro control tricks in there, but mostly just the one in the form of a Planeswalker. We've got 3 Seeker of the Way, because there's a lot of spells in the sideboard, and there's a lot of spells in the main deck, so if you feel like your stupid combo isn't working, or, you know, you're facing off against an aggro deck that you just really need to bridge the gap against, you can use his lifelink very, very well. We have a Johnny's Presence, 2 copies of this card. I really like Johnny's Presence. You just make one guy survive board wipe. Namely, Monastery Mentor is a really good one, or just your SGM, and you're pretty much in the money against control. So 2 copies of a Johnny's Presence. Similarly, 2 copies of God's Willing, which will help you get through and save your guys against, namely, mono red aggro, which is kind of getting bigger as the format progresses. And we'll see how it works in DTK standard, but it did get Zergo and a couple of other cards, so I think mono red aggro is still here. But you need God's Willing against more than just that. It's a fine card. Get your guys through, saves your dudes. God's Willing is fine. 3 copies of Goblin Rabblemaster. Goblin Rabblemaster, again, is just for when you want to shift gears and be that straight-up aggressive deck and just try and deal damage as quickly as possible. That definitely helps for that. And Goblin Rabblemaster was the last cut from the main deck. He obviously helps you make more tokens to hit that 8 creature magic number, but I think he more belongs in the sideboard. I wanted to make this a dedicated combo build, but he'll probably go in when you want to be just as quick as possible. Rabblemaster's always been good for that. We have 2 copies of Valorous Stance in the sideboard. This, again, against control, helps you survive board wipe and helps you survive against the bigger decks, the Abzans and the green-white and green-red devotion decks that just play huge dudes. It helps you out a little bit. Hopefully you won't get to that point in the game. And again, you're not worried really about your creatures doing combat damage. You just want to swing with 8 dudes. So those slightly slower decks that don't have many ways to disrupt you you don't have to worry about as much. You actually do fairly well against the mid-range decks, but you still want to take out Siege Rhinos and Arbor Colossus Eyes and things like that. So you want Valorous Stance. And finally, rounding out the sideboard is two copies of Elspeth's Son's Champion, also to help out a little bit against the mid-range decks, and if you can get it to stick against control, it's absolutely ridiculous. Although now they have Silumgar's Command, so Planeswalkers might not be as much of a thing against blue-black control. They can just kill them now, so there's that to worry about. But yeah, I still think Elspeth is crazy against a lot of builds. So yeah, definitely put Elspeth in. I just like my girl. So yeah, that is infinite combo damage dudes, red-white tokens for you. This is really a super fun deck to play with. And the combo comes out of nowhere. Like I said, you don't have to worry about your dudes doing the combat damage. You just want to swing with 8 guys. And if you can get a pretty, decent draw, it happens a little bit better than average, then you can get 8 guys in 4 or 5 turns sometimes. So it's not as improbable as it seems. And it's a whole lot of fun. And if they've never heard of the combo, it's great to see their face. So I totally recommend this deck. I wouldn't take this one up to a PTQ either, but for your F&M or just, if you want to have a deck to play against your friends with somewhere, this is more than fun. It's more than good, and it wins without the combo a lot of the times. And I'll say it one more time, you'd be surprised how good Impact Tremors is in something like this. So that's my seal of approval on it, and that's our take from SBMTG, man. My name is Devin. Let us know what you think in the comments here about this old deck, and if you have any suggestions for it, let me know too. Or if you have any suggestions for other decks we can build. I'm working on Big Red right now, which I really want to be a thing, because Dragon Whisperer. So I'm working on Big Red, and I'm working on Jund. So let me know which one of those you'd like to see first, and I will go ahead and get that one out of the gate. We got a couple more things coming up too. Top 10 cards in Dragons of Tarkir and top 10 sleepers in Dragons of Tarkir. So make sure you subscribe so you get all that content. I'm Devin. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you, Wizards, for watching.
I knew my calling since the day I turned 9 and got a Super Nintendo and an acoustic guitar and started playing on both until my fingers got scars. Yeah,